Greetings. This is Skyler Saunders seeing what's tonight. I would like to explore the world of veganism and eating meat. Now, I eat meat. Pause. I'm a carnivore. I prefer a ribeye with peppercorn seasoning, cooked rare. That is my go-to. Or a T-bone steak, well done. Just depends on how it's prepared with a lot of seasoning. But you have figures like quote unquote philosopher Peter Singer from Australia, who claims he's a vegan, but he eats mussels, oysters, and clams. So he's not a complete vegan. Now, when you have somebody like that who is a proponent of altruism, which is an evil doctrine that says that you should sacrifice your life and your values for a lesser value or a non-value. That's what he purports. But he's also a animal rights proponent. He wants to have animals have full rights just like human beings, when that's not even an option, because animals don't have the capacity to reason. They don't have the capacity to think as a human being can, and especially not even to speak or communicate on a higher level other than just sign language and other cues. There's multiple signs and different languages that animals have, but it's not on the par with humans. With eating meat, it's a question of whether it's healthy, whether it's a thing, and whether you're harming other animals for the sake of your own body, your own mind, your own spirit. And for myself, if I knew that a dog or a cat had tender meat and was delicious, I would eat that dog or cat. I would have no problem with it. They have, and throughout the years, many Asian cultures have eaten dogs and cats throughout the centuries. It's been widely known that they do that. So it depends on the individual. If you want to be a vegetarian or a vegan, basically mean the same thing. They just got shortened from America, from a entry in the dictionary. Just went from vegetarian to vegan. If you take on that idealism that these very precious items, such as animals, can be used as food for human consumption, that's something that has to be explored. For millennia, we have been eating different animals, from poultry to beef to pork, and we haven't had too much of a problem with that. If you have it in moderation, if you have it in a controlled environment, if you use your own sensibilities, you don't have a problem. There's no issue. The one thing that sticks the most is the fact that people don't want to acknowledge the fact that animals are lesser than human beings. They are not as important as a human life. Now, they should be treated well, given the context. And in places like America and other places like the UK and even places in South America and Africa, dogs and cats are prized. They're house pets. They're not to be consumed for eating. But in certain cultures, as I just stated, they're part of the cuisine. But if you had to take a person and ask them what they would eat, and they had to say, whether it was vegetables or meat, I wonder what they would say. I wonder what that conversation would even sound like. What would that be like to even ask somebody to say, well, are you a vegetarian? Are you a carnivore? Are you a herbivore? Are you a omnivore? Do you eat anything and everything? What is your cutoff point? What is your limit? Like I said, in the context, the animal should be treated with dignity and respect, given that they're live creatures that deserve affection and care until and up into the moment that they are killed for human consumption, depending on what they are. Now, if you're beating your dog every day, that could be a problem because you're not using reason to beat your dog. You're doing it out of emotion. You're cutting your cat or something crazy like that just to do it. That's not the same thing as having a cheeseburger made from a cow. It's different. It's completely different. It's a different take altogether. So if you are a person who goes out of their way to disrupt and maybe even destroy animal's life that isn't going to be on your menu, that should not be considered a crime, but it should be considered as uh, it should be considered something that is vicious and something completely mean, and it shouldn't be criminal charge shouldn't be charged against you, but you should be socially ostracized. Like Michael Vick, he shouldn't have went to prison for having dog fights and mishandling various dogs. What should have been done is he should have been excommunicated from the NFL, and he should have been able to get counseling and classes that he would have to pay for, and he should have been reprimanded that way, not to be put in prison, because animals don't have rights to be protected. That's the key. That's the crux of this. So when you have a person that only eats meat or only eats vegetables, that is their prerogative. That is their choice. That's what separates them from anybody else. Some people eat anything and everything. Anything that comes their way, they put it in their mouth. But we have people like Peter Singer, who wants to put his agenda out there as something that's noble or good, when it's just something that is. You just happen to be a vegan. You just happen to be somebody that eats almost everything vegetable. And he made the case that certain animals like rabbits and other animals that are cooked or made as food, they have the capacity to feel. That's fine. They don't have the capacity to think, though. They don't have the capacity to know what is going on in their lives. They don't have that same understanding of who they are and what they are. They don't know. They can't communicate it properly. They can communicate amongst themselves, other rabbits and other livestock and cows and pigs. He even gave that as an example. He said, pigs have the same feelings and understanding, quote unquote understanding, as other living creatures, just like humans. Why should humans be able to eat them? It's because they don't have the capacity to think. They lack that very important ingredient. And plus, they taste very good. Pork chops, chitterlings or chitlins, they're tasty. Ribs, pork ribs are great. Beef ribs are great. I love all of that. They taste wonderful. I have the pork on my fork. I dig the pig. Can you spare a rib? That's my motto. So when it comes to different things like that, I just want to know: do you eat meat, or are you a vegan or vegetarian? Are you someone that does both, that switches from side to side? I am. I can eat a salad. No salmon, no other items other than blueberries or strawberries and some granola. That's fine. Just a regular green kale, spinach, salad, something like that, with some raspberry vinaigrette sauce. That's cool with me. What about you? What is yours like? Do you question whether you should be eating these items, whether they should be on your menu, whether they should be on your fork? What restaurants do you attend? Do you not go into a restaurant if they sell any meats at all? One item of meat and they're gone? Or you just choose to go to the restaurant and you get your vegan meal only? What is that about? Behind that. Because Peter Singer is completely out of reality. He's completely without any consequences in his own mind. He doesn't have the moral backbone to properly say what he wants out of his diet. Because if you're eating mussels and clams and oysters, those are living beings. Do they not have feelings? How can you tell? If they don't have feelings, it's still another being beside a human that you're eating that's alive or was alive. The same ideas apply. They still have the same kind of understanding. Is that where we are right now? Is that what we have to contend with? Do we have to continue to always be the ones that have to choose which ones we want to eat or not? That's something that I just want to understand and try to get a grip on, because I'm a foodie. I love eating food. As you can tell, I'm kind of hefty. I'm kind of a big guy. I wasn't always like this. I was Mr. Skinny. I was skin and bones for a long while. Then I got locked in the psych ward, and things went off on a track that is hard to even come back from. That was almost a decade. That was over a decade ago. That took place, but I just food. I enjoy it. It makes me feel good. The endorphins that are released, and Chris Cager comes in saying you was on military diet. I was on military diet. I was very, very thin. I was about 172 pounds when I was in the military, in the Marine Corps. Now I'm about in the two teens, or lower than two teens. I was in the two teens, and I've since gone on a better diet. I'm currently wavering between 199 and 202. I keep going back and forth, but that's where I am. And could salute to you, Chris Cager. Make sure you put in a little bit into the tip count. Put a little something in the tip jar, and I appreciate you. Make sure you also tell everybody about this podcast. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Back to the topic. Peter Singer is an avowed altruist. It's basically somebody that sacrifices their life for others, and not because of they enjoy it or they like it. They can, but the whole point of altruism is you're not even supposed to like it. You're not even supposed to have any feelings whatsoever regarding it. You're supposed to have a selflessness that surpasses all understanding. It's the Jesus doctrine. He sacrificed his life for the lives of billions of human beings, allegedly. And the same goes for anyone else. It goes for any other culture. Virtually every other culture has some element of altruism embedded in it, whether it's mystical or collectivist or anything like that. Just faith or faith. That's where we are. He wants to have. He's a man hater. He's a human hater. He hates humankind. He wants people to suffer and to be, in a state of panic and worry and complete and utter disregard for himself and others that are worthy of being valued. Because we can not sacrifice each other, but care and have respect for one another. That's possible, and that's rational, and that's good. But what Peter Singer is talking about is being someone that is a moral cannibal. And we're talking about eating things. He's a moral cannibal. He's like a metaphor. He wants to say, you have something, I don't have something, I must eat you. That's what his whole modus operandi is. That's what his whole goal is. That's what he does. He takes his ideas from various schools of thought, especially Immanuel Kant and Augustus Comte, who preached that what altruism was. He coined the term altruism, otherism, otherism, the idea of others. And when he did that, he made sure that it was embedded in the culture. He made sure that he took on his idealism and lived it through completely. He did this. So the question is, should you eat meat? I'd rather eat meat than a human meat. Human meat is something that is a complete taboo, and it's very vicious and disgusting. But in certain circumstances, it was part of the diet, given the fact that people were stranded on different mountains, and like the Donner Party. If you're familiar with that, you can Google it, Donner Party. There have been many instances of cannibalism, in different tribes across Africa and South America and Asia, and even probably North America. I'm sure. But should we eat meat from animals? Should they have rights? Should animals have the right to say what they want to say and do what they want to do because they have a mind to think and speak? I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's the way that it's been discarded from every lecture by Peter Singer. He just completely sweeps that away. He takes that on faith. He takes it on not reason, but unreason. He takes it on his own feelings. Just like he says with the rabbits and the different animals that allegedly feel, when they're being killed, like cows and chickens, stuff like that. And we've been eating chickens for millennia. They're probably the most universal poultry on the planet. Even there's a saying, when you eat exotic food, they say, it tastes just like chicken. And we have Ricardo Emmanuel checking in. He's got some hatred going on. He's got a little bit of human bussy meat talking about. Courtney W. just signed in. She's saying, of course we should eat meat. Beef for all essential vitamins and minerals we need, despite what the health industry tells us, but somehow packaged vegan meat is better. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Make sure you drop, a Cash App or a PayPal. I appreciate that very much so. But that's where we are. We're at a point in human existence where hundreds of millions of animals are killed every year for human consumption. Is that wrong? I ask you, is there something wrong with that? Is there something wrong with that? Respect to Chris Cager. I respect you on that level, sir. Thank you for the Cash App. I did receive it. Thank you very much, sir. But Courtney W said, no, of course not. Of course not. We have to realize and recognize the fact that we are the top dogs. Sorry for the mixed metaphor, but we're the number one in the whole entire universe. And like I said before, if it's in context, if you're smacking around a cat or smacking around a dog and punching them in the face and spray painting them and doing anything like that, that's crossing the line. That's totally different. Even if you did that to a chicken, or if you did that to a cow, I would say if you were cow tipping, that's crossing the line. That's going into the danger zone. That's making you into not a criminal, but a metaphysical evil person. A person not worthy of having any trade done with them, having any ideas exchanged with them. None of that. If you hurt or maim or distort a human or a human, yeah, you're going to jail. But if you do that to a animal, you don't go to jail. But you do now. But I'm saying, in my point, that you should focus on the fact that you should be ostracized. Everybody should stick away from you. Shouldn't even talk to you. Shouldn't do business with you. You should rot on the vine. You shouldn't have any dollars to your name. Nothing like that. PTK is checking in. You got to be evil to mess with animals for no reason. That's a fact. You're not going to literally. It seems ironic because you can leave them alive and still be evil, but you can kill them and still be good. That's weird. It's kind of strange how you can phrase that, but that's where we are. That's a fact. If you kick around a dog, you kick around a cat, and they're alive, that's wrong, and that's vicious and evil. But if you were to cook that dog or cat, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I want to see what it tastes like. I have to go to Taiwan or Indonesia or Singapore or somewhere like that. Korea, Vietnam. There's no question there. They don't play around. They'll eat a dog quick. I want to see what it tastes like. I'd eat a pug. I'd like a collie on my plate. Wouldn't bother me. But what would bother me is, okay, Courtney W checking in again. She's saying, I've had dog in Vietnam. It was actually tasty. But she said she wouldn't do it again. That's what it's like, though. But it's like that. Yeah. She came all, from the States all the way to the Vietnam. This is post-war Vietnam, by the way. And, she sampled the cuisine. She wanted to see what it's like, see what it tastes like. She said it was actually good, but you know what? I'm not trying it again. I guess it's a one-shot deal. One and done. I'm cool. I respect that about her. I respect that. But that's how it is. I am a meat eater. Pause. I'm a carnivore. I'm a herbivore. I'm an omnivore. That's the best way to describe me. I'm an omnivore. I eat plants, animals, and that's, I can't think of anything else. Plants and animals. I eat both. And Courtney, I'm addressing you right now. Well, that's Peter Singer in a nutshell. A coward, a liar, and a coon. He has a light skin, but he's still a coon. Because he's all about altruism. I'll give you an example. He has the famous kid in the pool, drowning, the drowning kid example. If you had your kid in the pool, then peace to you, Courtney. I did receive it. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. But if you had your kid in the pool and your neighbor's kid in the pool, whose kid are you going to save first or only? I'm going to ask you that. I'm going to just pause on that. I'll wait. Who are you going to save? The person that you either gave birth to or are raising or responsible for? Or are you going to save the kid that you hardly even know, the family that you hardly even know, even if you knew them more? You knew them for years. But now it's your kid or their kid. Who are you saving? Peter Singer says the other kid. Who do you say? You know what I say? Oh, Courtney W. She's got the quick one. Ricardo Emmanuel says my kid, and that's without my answer. But Courtney W. She says, she's on the fence, kind of. She's teeter-totter, and she's saying depends. It depends. I don't know what it depends on. Give me some more. Bring on why it depends. Because I can only see saving my kid, and if the case is right, it might be the only kid I save that day. That's one of my top values, if not my top value, my top concern. That's what I'm focused on right now. That's what I have. My own child, my flesh and blood, the person my wife gave birth to, the person that was cradled in her arms, that I cradled in my arms. But that's what the mentality that Peter Singer has, and that's what he applies to this notion of eating meat and being a vegan or a vegetarian. It's this altruism. He calls it effective altruism. He's another one of those people that says that there's a special way of saying altruism, just to put a little bit of salt on it, just like they do with capitalism. And so, oh no, this is conscious capitalism. This is safe capitalism. This is sensible capitalism. There's only one capitalism, and that's it. Laissez-faire capitalism, or let do, or let free, or hands off. That's the only kind of change or modifier you can put on capitalism. Same thing goes with altruism. Altruism is just altruism, no matter what it is. There is no effective altruism. Courtney W. has said, I don't have kids, so my answer will be hypothetical. Well, I don't have kids either, but I know for a fact, whether if I had kids or not, or whoever it is that's not, that's in my closeness, within proximity to me, they're getting saved. And I'm not going to worry about the other kid at all. Not even a little bit. But I respect you, Courtney W. Thank you very much again for that Cash App. And thank you, Chris Cager, for that Cash App. I appreciate it. Salute to both of you. But we have to now understand what it is with, this world we're living in, where we have, to divide us between people who eat meat and people who don't eat meat, or don't eat all kinds of meat. Now, how am I going to transition into this? This is extraordinary. This is wonderful. This is beautiful. And I'm going to try to tie back, see back and forth between the first half of this show and the last half. If you have not witnessed it yet, news outlets have, been talking about how this bicyclist who had a collision over a decade ago named Gert Jan Asken, he was paralyzed from, I think, either the neck down or the waist down, and he was able to walk. Get that. This is after the famous Super Bowl commercial that everybody was like, but it can never happen. I don't think this could ever happen. It's with Christopher Reeve getting out of his chair during the Super Bowl, and it's a very warm, life affirming commercial. Came out in 2001. I don't know if anybody can remember that. Anybody can go back that far? I can go back that far. I was 13 in 2001, 12 and 13, but no, but this it's basically, it showed him, using computer generated imagery, him getting out of his chair and walking like that, and it came into life. It's not, perfect. The guy had a few infections over time. The guy had things removed at the same time, but it's amazing. This is what AI should be, but it's not AI. It shouldn't be artificial intelligence. It should be learned machines. That's the proper term that we should get. LM, not AI. LM, learned machines, because there's no other intelligence other than human beings. And if there were other intelligence, we wouldn't know in this lifetime, or in many, 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 many lifetimes after us. So aliens and everything like that, they should be disregarded, because we don't have the time or the space, literally, to understand what they are, who they are, and what they are. But we can understand stuff like this. This is amazing. This is not playing God. And that's a good thing too. What is that about? What about when people say, "Oh, they're just playing God"? They're using everything they can, just like CRISPR. That's another example of playing, quote unquote, playing God. Well, aren't we playing God with ICE, internal combustion engines? Amish people use horse and buggy. They use technology. They use the little orange markers to let you know that there's a buggy in front of you. But that's about it. That's the only thing they can do. That's what it's all about. This is an amazing story. This is groundbreaking, earth-shattering kind of news. He's using his thoughts. They can read. You can AI, the LM, learned machines, can read thoughts that are processed from his brain down his spinal cord into his legs that can move. He can actually get up out of his chair and move with a walker. That's extraordinary. That is amazing. That when I saw that, I was just in, belief. I was like, that was a man on the moon moment for me. I never saw a man on the moon, during 1969. That was before my time. But this moment, this shining, beautiful moment of this man getting out of his chair and walking, and the reporter on the scene was Christopher Reeve, his son. His son actually reported on the fact that this man did this after Christopher Reeve had died a few years ago. I think over a decade ago. I can actually check that. Let me make sure now that I brought that up. Let me see when Christopher Reeve died. Let's see. He had fallen off a horse. It was 2004. So okay, almost 20 years ago. Almost 20 years ago. And we have this amazing technology. This amazing, spectacular, earth-shattering thing that we have. Salute to Courtney W. She says that is amazing. There are other similar technologies. And I wouldn't doubt you. I wouldn't doubt you. I would not doubt you. I would continue with you on the hypothetical. I'll continue, I would still say my own kid, and what is that? It goes, like I said, I was going to time back and forth. Peter Singer could never, ever conceive of something like this. He could never have the understanding of human life and the respect and regard for human life rather than animals. Animals are going to be animals, and we should treat them with respect and dignity until they're on their dinner plate. That's the facts. Otherwise, it's a psychosis. It's a mentally ill kind of thing, and I should know because I'm mentally ill. That's what it should come down to. So these technologies are just amazing. But he uses his thought, and he can stand up and even walk with the assistance of a brain-spine interface. That's what it's called, brain-spine interface. That's what he uses. That's what he continues to use on his own body. And like I said, he suffered minor infections, but like the researchers in Switzerland, it was a Swiss team that actually came up with this. The guy, he was in a collision in China, and I think he lives in Switzerland actually, or he was moved there, or he was shipped there, I guess you can say, or along those lines. He this guy named Gert Jean Oskin. It's astonishing. We should praise this kind of thing. These things are praiseworthy. They're worthy of all praise, not some mystical figure in the sky that we should praise and worship. We should worship the minds who are behind these kind of advancements, and not be afraid and not be Luddites of quote unquote AI. It's really, wait a minute, hold on. Something's wrong with my mic. Testing. 1, 2. Do you hear me? Courtney W. Do you hear me? Does my mic sound nice? Does it sound muffled? You let me know. I'm still going. You let me know again. If you respond with the mic is still muffled, I'll make some kind of adjustments. There's not too many to make, but I'll see what I can do. Testing. 1, 2. Okay, I'm going. I'm going anyway. If you remember that movie with Alec Baldwin and Al Pacino and Alan Arkin and so many others, a few others in it. Kevin Spacey, Glenn Ross. Blake's character, the character that Alec Baldwin plays. He's not here. Well, I'm going. It sounds low. My phone is on max volume. I can hear it though. Okay, sounds low. I'm going to try to speak in as most volume as possible, so it doesn't sound muffled or it doesn't interfere. But we have to get back to this topic. It is astonishing. This is what it is about Luddites. Luddites, if you haven't noticed or if you never heard of them, are part of the groups that went to machinery and purposely, viciously, dismantled them and damaged them and completely put them in ruins because they were afraid that they would take their jobs. They were afraid that they would have no income coming in. Well, is that with everything? Luddites, I've mentioned this before in previous posts. The Luddites that, said about the sewing machine. The Luddites said about, skip a few decades, you get the iPhone. What about switchboard operators? What do switchboard operators do now? Why don't we have a whole industry of switchboard operators? So this is amazing. A man can get up and walk again. Now this is important. His bladder and bowels are not controlled by this yet. So he still has to, contend with that reality. But we all know that there's, if we can get this far, I know we can get even further. We can go to another level. We can continue on and break through all the challenges that we have. That's where we are. That's what we have to do. That's the kind of work that is ahead of us. And why it is important for us to be, advanced, people that want advances, people that want to continue with technologies that are breaking through and helping other people, rationally, and you're not being altruistic. You're being completely selfish and capitalistic. And greed is good. It was said by Michael Douglas, the evil character, and the wrong person to say it in the movie, but he was exactly right. Greed is good. It is a good thing to be greedy for love, for money, for values. That's what is meant by greed. To have as much as possible, to be fulfilled, to be flourishing, to have eudaimonia. I don't think I pronounced that correctly. All the Greek people can yell at me. That's fine. But we're at this point in our existence where this is even possible. Think about 200 years ago. This would have been, look at what we anyway. I'm talking on this device, and there's people, listening or not listening. Came in, came out. That's fine. Drop a dime, when you can. Drop $1. If you come in, say hi, and drop $1, that's fine. But I appreciate all of it. But anyway, where we are now is a science fiction amazement. We are in completely science fiction territory. Jules Verne will be like, looks about right. Looks like what I was talking about. H.G. Wells, besides the War of the Worlds, he would have been like that. Same thing with Harlan Ellison or so many others. Isaac Asimov. It would have been the same thing. He would have been like, "Oh man, this is amazing. This is what I was trying to say to you. We're so close to being teleported. I'm sure there are people working on that right now, trying to get that in order. But we have what we have right now. We have what we have at this moment. A man getting out of his chair and walking based on his thoughts after having a serious and debilitating collision that severed his parts of his spine and connections to his brain. But now, thanks to learned machines, LM, he is able to speak. And he was already able to speak, but he's able to walk. He's able to walk, just tiny steps, just baby steps. He's not running a marathon yet. He could one day, maybe, given the amount of advancements we're doing right now. Is anybody else not hearing me? Is anybody out there? Can anybody hear me? No, it just baffles the mind how great it is to understand how these technicians, these scientists, these specialists, these people, these human beings can advance other human life non-sacrificially. I'm sure he had to pay for all this. I'm sure that was part of the deal. He probably had enough money saved up, or there was some kind of, donor program. Maybe somebody put in some money to get this all started. Did he do that? I know one thing. He made sure that he would be counted among those that would receive this extraordinary transplant, this brain spinal interface that is so fascinating. And again, playing God. Do we play God when we put on clothes? Do we play God when we have on our lights and electricity? Shouldn't we be roaming around butt naked like Adam and Eve? What is it that people have to say about that? Why do people always bring that up? They're playing God. Oh my gosh. They're out here playing God. We fly in airplanes. Are we playing God? We're playing what, disgraced comedian, sadly to say, Louis C.K. said, you're virtually a Greek god. You're flying in the air in a comfortable chair. What is wrong with you? What? Well, I just got peanuts, and well, my legs were cramped, and I just didn't want to. It's a shame. It's a sad shame when people do that. When people don't have the idea of knowing what they're doing, then that's the problem. That is the issue. That is where we are right now. We're at a point in existence where we have these amazing advancements, but we're still praying to God, a mystical being that doesn't exist. I need facts. I need evidence. I need help to understand how there are still billions of people that have been even touched by the idea of irrational sense and still haven't been able to achieve the ability to know that there is no God, and there never was one, and there never will be. And all the faith and all the crying and all the praying doesn't do anything. That's the irony of all ironies. Are you a witch? No, you live. Are you a witch? Yes. No, excuse me. Are you a witch? No, you die. Are you a witch? Yes, you live. There were witch hunts based off of faith. They're in the same camp as today. People that were in witch hunts, literal witch hunts, finding people that were witches or not, were crushed to death, and so many other disgusting things happened to them. And that's all because of faith. That's because of non-religion reason. It's because of faith that is so distorting. I wouldn't necessarily discount it as evil. I would say it's detrimental to human and mental health. It's detrimental to your mind. It says that you can't stand on your own reason. You can't stand on your own thoughts, on your own knowledge and understanding. It says that in the Bible. Lean not to your own understanding. What does that say? You can't understand anything then. I can't lean to my understanding for this test I got to take. I can't lean on my understanding to drive this car. I can't lean on my understanding to fly this plane. I have to rely on some mystical force. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? What is it? What is it about that? I'm still trying to figure it out. I would love to know if anybody could tell me what it is that lets us know what to do, what it means. It's such an issue. And you know what? It's something that is, deep in my spirit. And I don't mean that mystically, but in my mind, my soul, like Ayn Rand said, man is the same thing as a self-made wealth as he is a self-made soul. And that's what I am. I've made my soul. I've made my own mind up to know that there is no God that exists. There's no proof. There's no evidence. There's no way of telling whether there is a God or not, except to say that there isn't. There's no way of telling that there is a God. And that's anything. That's one thing about altruists. Altruists could be atheists. Their God is altruism, though. Collectivists could be atheists, but the group, altruists is others. Collectivists is the group. That's their God. The proletariat is the God. Others and altruists are the God. And the mystics, they just have something that ancient books have written down. They have completely different sects and different, parishes and different churches. They all say they belong to one person in charge, Jesus. There's Jehovah's Witness, there's Church of Latter-day Saints, there's Catholics, there's Amish, there's Mennonites, there's Episcopalians, there's so many others. It goes on and on and on and on and on. As long as they serve Jesus, okay, well, I mean, it's not what I do. I don't serve that, but if they want to do it, hey, that's on them. At least they have Jesus. They just carve him up. They take his piece. This is going back to the first part. This is the moral cannibalism. They take pieces of him and they eat him. It's like in the movie Mother. Classic film. Excellent film. Great film. It was panned. Jennifer Lawrence was given a golden raspberry, a Razzie. And it just got to a point where it gets to a point where she was acting, I thought she was acting brilliantly. And the storyline was excellent. It was about, the mother of the world, the mother, and her baby being torn from her. And that's all I'm going to tell from you. Just have it torn from her in a nightmare scenario. That's what it was like. That's what it continues to be like. We're in a nightmare scenario. We try to have these advancements and these good things, but then it has to be weighed and balanced with the mysticism and the collectivism and the altruism. Instead of reason, individualism, and capitalism, we get those nasty things. There's a point where we have to continue on despite our misgivings. There's a point where we have to find a way to understand what we're really about. We have to understand the facts. Excuse me. We have to understand the facts, not the faith. The facts will always do us better. They will always one-up us. And they will always be with us. And they will always be there. What is, okay, Courtney W saying non-alcoholic beverage. What is that in reference to? And does my mic sound better? Does my mic sound better, Courtney? Does it sound a little better now? I'm a little closer. I don't want to get too close because then I'll cut off my hat. But you have to explain yourself a little bit there, young lady. Non-alcoholic beverage? What are you saying here? But like I was saying, Marcus, okay. Oh, She's talking about me. Okay, that was water. It's completely. It's not vodka. It's not gin. It's water. Yeah, it was. It's a non-alcoholic beverage. I'm still, here. I'm not tipsy. But no, that was just water. But yeah, we're good. We're good. Um, and I'll have the news at the end of at the end of the night. It's good news. Good news. Great news. First time happened on this show ever. It's history in the making. But I have to say that we're in an era where we're advancing and retarding at the same time. We're speeding ahead, and yet at the same time someone tugging at our collar while we're trying to run them faster. And that tugging at the collar is mysticism, collectivism, and altruism. The one running is reason, individualism, and capitalism. We have to have that in order. We have to have that together. We have to keep fighting for those ideals. We have to fight against the Peter Singers. Of course, we have to fight against them, but we have to fight for our own ideals. The Peter Singers of the world will evaporate. He'll go away. He'll die off. All the followers of him, they'll all die off. They'll be sent to the wayside. All of that will be, discussed later on. They will be, on a level of being taken from one side to another. They'll be, on the benches or even outside in the parking lot. They will not be in the field to play, as human beings, full-fledged humans. That's where we are. That's what we have to get to. We have to get to the point where we have the brain. What is it? The brain spine interfaces. That like people will say, it's a miracle. It's a miracle. They used to have people like that. Different evangelists. They have lines of people in wheelchairs and people with leprosy and people lined up in crutches. And then they have them stand in front of everybody, and they would push them with their head to their forehead, and they would be knocked down, and then they get up, and they'll be able to walk again. When all of that was BS, they knew that the people had, no disability, that they were completely acting. But, the people that saw that were like, wow, oh my gosh, that person wasn't walking, but now they can walk. It's amazing. This is God. This is faith. This is a true example of how God exists. When in reality, none of that is true. None of that took place. And you have, people that don't even do that physically, just do that mentally. With the Bible. They use that as a backing. It's not evil. I'm never going to say that it's an evil or a vicious or nefarious thing, mysticism. It's in the axis of evil, but it's more so a mental and a human detriment to health. That's what it is. Courtney W is asking a good question. Why do you regard mysticism or altruism as negative? I regard mysticism as negative because it destroys the mind. It destroys your capacity to think. If you're saying that a person went to a cross, hung and was brutally murdered, and then rose from the dead as a resurrection, that's just one example. There's Buddhism, Confucianism, there's Hinduism, there's Islam and Judaism. All of that. Christianity is just one tip of the spear. All of them to put together, and everything else that's part of mysticism is not evil, but a detriment to the human mind. And altruism is a detriment to the human spirit, is a human your being, your whole life, whatever you value. It goes against whatever you care about. That's how evil altruism can be named as evil. It is definitely evil. And I will put collectivism in there too. Collectivism is evil because it worships the group instead of the individual. But there's no group without the individual. That's just a fact. But I'm going to end on this note. The people of reason are going to win. The people of LM, or learned machines, or what you would call artificial intelligence, are going to win. It's going to be a rough battle. It's going to be a tough fight. But at the end of it, the people of the mind are going to stand up and say that we have won. I'm going to end it right there. And this is the good note I was waiting to get to. Because of people like Ricardo Emanuel and because of Courtney W., I was able to pass my first goal for this show. So applause to Ricardo and to Courtney W. and Chris Cager. Chris Cager is responsible. Chris Cager and Courtney W. definitely came through and got it passed. I'm gonna get to Courtney because she responded and replied, and she got the gold pass. But I think I'm gonna get to her really quick. I'm an atheist myself. I just think both create balance. Doesn't create a good balance. It creates a toxic lopsidedness. Now it seems like it's a balance. And I'm glad it's okay to be an atheist. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm an atheist. But you have to see that the balance is not there. It's lopsided. Faith is lopsided. Collectivism is lopsided. Altruism are all lopsided. They look like they balance. Just like it looks like there's a God. You believe, you think, you go to church, you do all these things. They call that religion. But I'm talking about faith. Faith is the belief in something that is not tangible or rational or anything else. That's what. And on that note, I'm going to say salute to Black Panda. What's good? You just missed a wonderful show because I, went past the the $10 mark. And if you stop by the next time, we'll hopefully be able to see you. But at this time, I'm going to be checking out. I thank everybody for bouncing with me. Thank you again to Chris Cager and Courtney W. I appreciate you all, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Take care.